This week on HomeKit News, the Orvibo Smart Dimmer switch. This week we're taking a look at a product from Orvibo and their MixPad D1, a smart switch designed for US switch boxes that also comes with a display. To save some of you a bit of time, this is not actually HomeKit compatible, although it does work with Siri shortcuts, Google and Amazon, but the company also state it'll work with Matter and therefore HomeKit. Orvibo do mention on their Amazon listing for this product that an update for Matter will be coming in January, and they even show the Matter logo in their promotional images, so I hope this does come soon. The company also told me the switch would actually act as a Matter controller. Interesting. Putting that all to one side for now, let's see what's in the box. So we get the switch itself, which I'll look at more closely later on, 4 wire nuts and 2 sets of screws, an inner plate to secure the switch, an outer standard size wall plate, and finally a very detailed manual in English along with labels to use with the wires. Let's have a closer look at the switch now, starting with some specs, so pause the video if required. It connects to your smart home using standard 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for initial setup. The switch also requires a neutral wire, so that will unfortunately rule out some users. As this is designed for US switch boxes, the dimensions and holes for screws etc. are standard. However, as with many smart switches, this is quite deep at 1.5 inches, so that's something to bear in mind. All other measurements, including the width, are as normal however. So as this requires neutral, you do get the neutral wire in addition to the standard line, load and ground wires. The manual states this can be used in a 3-way configuration, although it also states to achieve this they recommend you employ a professional electrician. Quickly onto the physical characteristics of the front of the switch, and the front is almost all display with 2 microphones at the top flanking a loudspeaker, both of which I'll demonstrate later. You then have a touchscreen display and a physical on-off switch at the bottom, which also serves to mute audio going from the MixPad to other MixPads. Moving on to the basic features of the switch, starting with the default display, which in this case displays the time of day in either 12 or 24-hour format, the day and date, and basic current weather information. To move to other screens, you swipe left or right, and here you see basic lighting controls, including an on-off button and a slider for dimmable bulbs. The next screen has a couple of pre-installed presets. Vacation mode turns the lights on and off at random times, whilst automatic will utilise the light sensor to turn the lights on or off depending on brightness levels. You can also create your own presets like I've done here directly on the device. There's a screen mostly for settings, so dimming allows you to set minimum and maximum brightness levels for your bulb, as well as a preferred preset brightness. Display allows you to set the screen brightness, as well as set the screen to turn off between set times. Personalize offers options for the main screen, so you can select from one of 3 presets. I'll select this one and you can see now that it's set. Here are the 3 current options available, with one focused more on weather and another showing an analog clock. If you have more than one of these smart dimmers, you get access to a few extra features. So for example, I can control a light on a totally separate switch, including dimming control. Another set of features is for voice calls. So for 2-way audio, you can call another dimmer in another room and have a 2-way conversation. If you want to broadcast a message, you can use the broadcast feature, strangely listed here as Intercom on the display, which I'll demonstrate in a bit. In addition to presets you can set for lights on a single switch, you can also set up scenes via the Orvibo app that allow you to control groups of lights, each with individual levels of brightness created in the scene. In fact, you can go even further with the use of another of the company's products, namely the Orvibo Magic Cube. This tiny device is actually an IR blaster, and if you're familiar with this type of device, you'll know that it can control pretty much anything that comes with an IR remote control. It uses standard 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi for connection to your smart home, and in the forthcoming examples I've set it up to control a TV and a standing fan. The unit uses a micro USB cable, but you do need to provide your own power supply. For a size comparison, here's an Aqara temperature sensor, so you can see it's actually quite small. If I go back to the dimmer switch, you can now see that in addition to my basic light scenes, I've created a scene to turn my TV and set-top box on. This scene has now been added to the dimmer switch, so I can now control the TV from the switch if I want to. In addition, I've also set up a scene to control a fan that we have, which comes with its own remote control that I can use to program the Magic Cube with. So to demonstrate here, you can see I've created a scene that is added to the dimmer switch, and with just this one single tile, it allows me to turn the fan on and off from the dimmer switch. Not bad. I mentioned at the start that this can work with Siri shortcuts, so to do this you need to go into the Orvibo app, which does need an account. As you can see, the device isn't too dissimilar to the Apple Home app, with tiles for lights, scenes and tiles for other devices, which also includes products controlled by the Magic Cube. There are scenes and automations pages as expected, and a page for device management where you can adjust all manner of settings. For the dimmers, you can choose which devices, scenes and automations are displayed on a switch by switch basis, so if you don't want one switch to access certain devices, you can set those options here. The dimmer works with Amazon and Google, and if you want to convert any scenes created in the app to shortcuts, you can also do that here by just tapping on the Add to Siri button, whereby it'll then create the shortcut for you. Onto the previously mentioned call features, and in this demo you can see me calling another dimmer switch with the audio coming through the other side. Hi, this is Simon from HomeKit News. Hi, this is Simon from HomeKit News. The broadcast feature, mislabeled intercom like I mentioned before, requires you to press and hold the yellow icon when speaking. This is like intercom on HomePod minis, so it's one-way audio only. This is Simon using the broadcast feature. This is Simon using the broadcast feature. Of course, at its most basic, this is still a light switch, so I really should test that. So I can turn the lights on and off via the screen and adjust the brightness via the dimmer slider. Additionally, at the bottom, the physical switch allows me to control the light as well. One thing to note is that the light fades on and off, and there seems to be no way to change that at this time. Finally, to the pros and cons, and with my review of a not too dissimilar device from Aqara a couple of videos ago, it's good to see something that will actually fit US wall switches. At around $99 it's not cheap, but you get more than a switch of course, and it's still cheaper than products by companies like Brilliant. I do like the display. I think they've done a good job of the overall design and the graphics in my opinion, and the display is also quite responsive. I also like that you can call people in other rooms with this, and even choose which rooms can be set to do not disturb or even completely out of bounds. Siri shortcuts isn't quite HomeKit of course, but it has its uses, and with devices like the Magic Cube you can create some interesting automations involving devices that use infrared. When it comes to Matter, obviously it's generally not advisable to buy on a promise unless the company in question has a track record of delivering, but given all their marketing material states Matter is coming, I feel reasonably confident they will add this functionality soon. The only minor niggle is that when operating the switch, the lights gradually turn on or off instead of doing so instantly. This may be fine for some people, but not everyone I'm sure. Hopefully a future update can provide an option to change this. So that's our take on the Orvibo Smart Dimmer. If there's anything I didn't mention or you have any other questions, drop them below and I'll do my best to answer them. In the meantime, stay safe, and for those that celebrate, Happy Chinese New Year! 新年快乐!